Today we're talking about the all-new Tamron, the all-in-one telephoto zoom lenses, the 50-300 and the 28-300 for the Sony E-mount. Which one should you get? Should you get them at all? Let's talk about that right now. Now, before we kick things off, I'm not paid or sponsored for this video. Big thanks to Tamron Singapore for providing the lenses for review. With that said, these are my thoughts and my thoughts only. Now, on one hand, I like the focal ranges. 50-300, that's a great all-in-one, telephoto zoom lens. And then the 28-300 is even better. But with these focal ranges and the size and the price point, there are going to be some sacrifices you're going to have to make as a photographer. But again, I'm going to approach this video a little bit different than how I would approach maybe a more higher end lens, because these are going to be more for that photographer that just wants one lens to kind of do it all. They're not a pixel peeper. They're not out there going 400, 500, 100% in Lightroom or Capture One, and looking at all the chromatic aberration, all the imperfections and the bokehs, all that stuff. They're really not into that. They're just into capturing images, and they want one lens to do it, especially if you're going to be traveling to different countries, or if you just want to go around and do an event and you're not a pro for say, you just want a good all around lens, then these are something you're going to consider. So with that said, image quality wise, let's just get it out of the way. It's not going to compare to a G Master lens from Sony. It's not there. It's not at that level. Some of Tamron's lenses are at that level, especially the 35-150 f2.2.8 phenomenal lens, the 28-75 respectively. These are really good lenses that do in some ways rival the G Master alternatives out there. But these lenses do not. They are decently sharp, well corrected, minimal to zero chromatic aberration, especially when you're shooting metallic objects. So that's going to be good. Colors, nice. They're fast autofocus. These are really good lenses in that way. The thing that you have to notice about these lenses is the aperture range, okay? At 4.5 to 6.3 on the 50-300. Which means, you can probably shoot this in a little bit more, lower light situations, as you're seeing from some of the sample images that I'm showcasing here throughout this video. My partner and I went to this Chinese temple, and there was these two gentlemen who sort of went into a trance to become these gods. I don't know how to explain this. Things you see in Singapore, different culture for me, but it was quite fascinating. Anyway, we were capturing this on the A7RV. And obviously you're going to see a lot of grain and a lot of noise because you want to keep the shutter speed up so you can make sure you capture the action of these gentlemen moving around, because they do sort of spaz out here and there. So the noise is going to creep in. And at the same time, you're going to see a variety of different focal ranges on this, again, from 50-300, which gives you a lot of play. That's something that I really do appreciate with that lens. And the 28-300 even more so. But not all is going to be rosy with these lenses. Now, I have watched other videos out there as well, and I've seen some pros and some cons. I will tell you that if you're just going to be shooting portraiture, you're not going to notice a lot of the imperfections or a lot of the shortcomings of this lens. But if you're going to be shooting buildings or anything with straight lines or anything like that might be environmental, there is quite a bit of distortion, especially in the 28-300. There's a lot of distortion. We're talking curvature like this. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? Now, the 50-300 looks a little bit more well-controlled to me than the 28-300, but still, that 20-300, you're thinking, if it was a little bit better controlled, yes, you can correct it in Lightroom. It's very easy to do that, and I can show you how to do it real quick here. But out of the camera, and I've got lens correction turned on in the cameras, mind you, yeah, no bueno. It's very noticeable. And if you go to, let's say, Europe or another country and you want to shoot temples or buildings or structures, you're going to be thinking, do these architects make everything kind of rounded? It's really a little bit odd. Again, if you're shooting portraiture, you're not going to notice these things. But if you are shooting anything with environmental or straight lines, you're going to see these. It's very prominent, especially in the 20-300. Another aspect of these lenses to watch out for is the weight. Yes, it's a great thing. The 50-300 comes around 665 grams and the 20-300 comes around 610 grams. So these are very light lenses. This is a very light lens. Look at this thing. This is a 20-300 and look at the range I have here. This is very, very tiny. You put this on, let's say an A7CR, for example. This is going to be a nice little kit to walk around with. Very compact, very easy. With that said, though, because these lenses are so light, you're going to get a bit of camera shake, even with IBIS turned on. Now, there's vibration compensation in both of these lenses, but I don't think it works that well, at least from my experience. So I was testing him primarily on the A7R5, and even with a very good IBIS in that system, I was missing some shots where I was really steady, standing there, both hands, trying to get the shot. And I'm like, my shutter speed was fast enough. Everything was good. And I'm going, why am I not getting things locked on? The autofocus is quick, but because it's such a light kit, you are going to get some camera shake that comes into play. That's something to take note of on that. Now, also, one thing that did surprise me though, which is a positive thing, is with the 28-300, that f4 to 7.1 aperture, which sort of scared me a little bit because I'm thinking, wow, if you're going to lower light situations, that ISO is just going to creep up. I was shooting around sunset time. I was just walking around my neighborhood, just taking images, random images, like how some people would take with this lens, right? Kind of an all-in-one, just random lens to take, your shots. And I found that around sunset time, around 4, 5, 6 p.m., my ISO wasn't that bad, maybe 1,000, 2,000 thereabouts in its darkest situations, but pretty much under that, I was under 1,000 ISOs. But I was pretty impressed how this lens performed on that. Now, again, in lower light situations, nighttime, forget about it. If you want to shoot at 300 millimeters and you want to use this lens, the 28-300 I'm talking about, I think you're going to be really pushing that ISO to its maximum. Again, you can use software to correct it, but it's something to take note of. The 50-300 performed a little bit better, in my personal opinion, as you're seeing from the images here throughout this video, but there is still some grain. Again, you can clean this up in software, but the photographers that are going to pick up this lens, I don't know if they're going to be doing that much editing. And that's why, while I appreciate what Tamron's done with these lenses, and I think that they're giving photographers out there, and I would say more budget-friendly, budget-conscious photographers and creators, an option that's going to give you a wide range in terms of your focal reach, right? 50-300, 28-300. That's pretty impressive for the size of these lenses. But if you're not going to be shooting in bright daylight, if you're going to be shooting in more challenging circumstances, will these lenses be the lens that you want to take with you? Will you get the images that you want? And I don't know the answer to that. My personal take is, if I was going to take this, let's say I was going to go to Europe, for example, I'm going to Italy, and I'm going to go inside churches, I'm going to go inside castles, I'm going to go inside various different buildings, but I'm also going to be outdoors. And I want this 28-300, I have to be ready to do a lot of post-processing to make those indoor images viable, especially with the aperture rating, okay? So if I am okay with that, great. If you're not okay with that, I would possibly look at breaking up these focal ranges into something a little bit more. Maybe get another 2 lenses out there, the 28-75 and maybe something else, just to sort of get the best of the best out there for you. Yes, it might be a little bit more in price point, but your image quality is going to be significantly better, and I think you're going to appreciate that overall. Because sometimes a good all-in-one is nice to have, but I would have loved to see something maxed out on this at 6.3 or f5.6. Again, it might be a little bit larger, but that size would add in terms of stabilization. It'd give it a little bit more, just stability overall. And I'd find that I'd probably get better keepers with this lens than what it is currently right now. 610 grams is a bit too light in my personal opinion, especially when you're at 300 millimeters. You're going to get that shake, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on these lenses here, guys. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of what Tamron's done. I just feel that these lenses are pushing a little bit too much, and they may not be for everybody out there. So just take note, take stock in the type of photography that you want to do, the type of videos that you want to do, especially if you want to use this for video, and just purchase accordingly for yourselves. Because look, no matter if it's less expensive or not, these are challenging times in the economy, and you want to maximize your dollar as much as possible. And that's why I'm saying, maybe sometimes it's better to buy 2 lenses, spend a little bit more, but you get more usability out of it versus trying to buy 1 lens to do it all, and you sacrifice a lot. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on the 50-300 and the 28-300 from Tamron for the Sony E-mount. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. More content on the way. Thanks again for the support, and I will chat to you very soon. Take care.